I'm author Mark Muncy,
And I'm author Erika Lance.
and this is Eerie Travels. Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers.
Oh my gosh, we are we are still at Erika's secret mountain fortress,
Yes.
recording as we are watching the mists roll in. Here we are in lovely Ravenloft.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, as we are on the outskirts of Barovia.
Yes.
For those few Dungeons and Dragons nerds who caught that reference.
Yes,
So,
which was like three of the people listening to this.
Yeah. But it is there. So
Okay. But this is going to be kind of an interesting one. So I do want to put a little bit of a trigger warning on this one.
Oh, okay.
Because I think some of the things we're going to talk about go to a little bit dark places, go to
Yep.
some deaths and things like that. So the episode is not about that, but
it's in
can,
there. It's
yeah,
adjacent. It's adjacent. And we're also going to be
adjacent.
talking some of the Hollywood versions of this too, which is also sometimes triggering.
Yes, exactly.
So,
So trigger adjacent with deaths and things like that.
Yeah. No, this is a fun one. I'm excited because our producer, I believe, is also going to chime in on this one themselves. I know they keep threatening to put us out of business.
Yes, I know.
And especially if we give them more work, but
that's okay. That's why we pay them the big bucks.
Well, as long as the audience, who I am holding hostage here, does give us money, then you guys are safe. But
okay, good.
Well, okay. Well, by to do that, audience, support our sponsors, but you can also go visit our friends at Paranormality Magazine. Paranormalitymag.com, where you can vote for your favorite paranormal podcast, which we would love if you would put us in your votes, and you can vote 3 times a week for your top 3. But we would also very much like to point out that you can go there and get a subscription to the magazine, get the detailed articles, and you get 10% off if you use the code TRAVELS.
Absolutely. And you can vote for us as your favorite paranormal podcast.
I think we said that 3 times now, so I think we've done it, so that's perfect. But I do have a story from them. So we have breaking news.
What on earth is your breaking news?
Well, I don't know if this is breaking news because this happened in 1936.
That's not breaking news.
But the magazine, hey, this is their article for this month, and it's in the year 1936 in the quaint town of La Piedad de Cabadas, and I know I totally butchered that.
Nailed it.
From Michoacan, a peculiar incident unfolded, witnessed by a young girl named Teresa. At the tender age of 7, Teresa found herself embroiled in an otherworldly encounter at the hotel where her family worked. What she experienced that day defied all logic and left an indelible mark on her memory. The spider later moved to the capital city in a life of rationality. Teresa's account of the mysterious figure and the coins that accompanied it remain vivid. And to get access to that, you have to go to the website. But they have breaking news on that story. So paranormalitymag.com.
You know what I'm gonna bet? I'm gonna bet somebody else has encountered this now.
I bet. Because that's what happens.
Giant tease, but I appreciate it. Okay.
All right.
So guess what we're going to talk about today?
I don't know. We are going to talk about the Boojums.
No.
Oh.
The but we are going to talk about the Boojums.
I know, I'm excited.
Learn more about the Boojums.
We keep learning more about them.
Yes. I feel like we need to just let it simmer a little more to get more stuff.
It's a rabbit hole we're going down.
It's good. So. It's going to be a deep
it's a mammoth cave that we're going down. So
but no, we're going to talk about something that it's interesting because I've heard people kind of talk about it, but it's very I think it's coming up more prevalently with people putting cameras in their children's rooms.
Oh, like nanny camps.
Kind of nanny camps, but not to watch the nannies. So like one thing that's become more prevalent versus when we were youngsters, right, was being able to have a camera on when your kids are sleeping or something like that. Obviously no creepiness or pedophileness. That's not what we're talking about. But when your kids are sleeping, you can now watch them and just make sure they're safe. And this really helps, type A personalities that worry about their kids all the time.
And this is also for those people, if you go out to dinner and you've got the babysitter at home, you can kind of keep an eye on the babysitter, make sure the babysitter's not doing, make sure they're doing their job too.
Exactly. But I am talking about imaginary / invisible friends.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I think I've had an experience. So I know you've had an experience and had an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
And I use the term, you guys can't see me using quotations, because I don't actually think the majority of the time they're imaginary.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're going into that.
I'm going down that rabbit hole.
All right.
And the reason, it's interesting because this came up because my grandbaby has been in her crib, and they do have a camera on the crib in general, right? But it sounds like she's very young. She's just a little over a year old, but every now and then it sounds like she's talking, and then we'll be laughing and then go back to sleep.
She's having a conversation with somebody.
So with somebody,
Yeah, okay.
right? Now she doesn't have a full conversation. She's young.
Just playing with someone.
Playing, right? And this also leads into another rabbit hole. I'm going to save that for after the break. But when I was younger, I had this a friend, and his name was Charlie, right? And I used to tape like pictures that I'd color on my wall. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, actually. I wasn't very young, 7 or 8 years old. And I taped pictures on my wall. And one night, something came in and pulled all the pictures off the wall. And they swirled around and fell in one fell swoop. It wasn't one at a time.
Activity.
Very thing. And for whatever reason, I knew its name was Charlie.
Wow.
And I had this thing when I was little, and I think a lot of children have this thing, where if you're under the blankets, you're protected. Like if you pull the blankets completely, like it's magic, right? You're protected. But Charlie would make me feel like I was protected, even though I couldn't tape anything on the wall, because he would immediately pull it down, right? And I even remember one night, and I talked to my mom about this, because there was one night he was knocking the hangers off in the closet, but making a racket.
Oh.
And I was in bed. I had bunk beds. My sister was asleep on the top bunk. I was on the bottom bunk, all tucked in my little blanket port, and he's making a racket. I knew he was making a racket. And my mom opened the door and said, "Knock it off," like she was mad. She was yelling. And I'm in my bed. My sister's in her bed. And then all of a sudden, one more hanger drop. And she was like, and she opened the door, and all of the hangers were off the rack.
And she's so did your sister see Charlie?
No, but somebody did.
Oh.
So this is why I'm leading to the story. So I have many other stories, which I'm not going to get into right now, ghost stories. We can talk about this later. But so that happened, and I remember having a conversation with Charlie that he couldn't do that anymore because it makes my mom mad. He couldn't knock all the stuff out. And I remember that I cleaned it up the next day, and my mom never brought this up to me again. This incident. He never did it again, but she never would talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
She didn't. Yes, that's one of those hush hush.
Yeah. Like let's pretend like that didn't happen. But what did happen was I was driving with my friend, one of my very best friends when I was younger. Her name was Jody. We lost touch when I was 18, but her name was Jody, and her parents would drive 2 hours to come pick me up to take me to her house. And when I was really young, I didn't understand how amazing that is.
Yeah, that's
kudos. And I forget her father's name right now, but he was dad. But and they would drive, and they had one of those old station wagons with the wood paneling.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had, it had a big rear seat.
Oh yeah, you can just lay around in it and
Mhm.
roll around and
But
just have fun.
they had us sit and they had us with seat belts on.
Oh,
And I distinctly remember Charlie being in the middle of the seat. Like I remember it, but I never talked about it because it was like, you don't talk about it, you'll sound like you're crazy.
yeah.
Right. And my mom was like, don't talk about it. I never talked about the hanger thing, but I brought up Charlie and she's like, you've got to stop saying that in front of people
Oh,
because they'll think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And she ended up, so we were going and they pulled into a drive-through to get swirl cones, ice cream cones.
nice.
And they asked what kind I wanted. I forget what I even said, but I remember right after I ordered what I wanted, right? Jody says, and Charlie wants a vanilla one.
Wow.
And I remember, like, do you get goosebumps? Did you
Yeah,
get
that's
goosebumps?
good.
Because I was sitting on the right side and I literally did the slow turn to my left.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're not getting 2 ice cream cones.
Yeah.
And she was like, and they're like, you're not getting 2 ice cream cones because obviously they thought
Yeah.
she was trying to get 2 ice cream cones. And I remember we got the ice cream cones, we're driving away, and I said, you can see him?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, he's sitting right next to us.
Yeah. Wow. Now it's funny you mentioned Jody and imaginary friends. Of course, my mind immediately went to Amityville because that was
Okay.
the imaginary friend in Amityville
Yeah.
was Jody.
Yes.
So,
But no, it's true.
true
story,
So
and-
I always thought Jody was your imaginary.
No, it was Charlie.
I was like, wait a minute.
But he left when I was 14.
Just
was-
disappeared.
I remember one night, like it was almost like not like he came and was like, Erika, you're old. It just was one night I knew he was gone.
I think what's that character from Inside Out? That was her imaginary friend. And then as she got older, that was the memory she had to let go. The character had to let go, and it was her imaginary friend. And I can't remember the character's name.
Oh no, is that Bing Bong?
Bing Bong, yes, yes.
Oh,
The saddest
no.
thing ever. Sorry, Callie.
Well, it's okay. There is a TikTok that's really funny that's just says Bing Bong, fuck your life. And I do think of that whenever I say Bing Bong. But I also think of the very beautiful, very, very rainbow, very Pride Month elephant.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Well, now you had an
Well-
imaginary friend, Callie.
Well,
That's-
you tell us about your imaginary friend, and then I want to go into why I think
The
these are
thi-
very real and what I think they are.
Okay. All right.
So, Callie, what was your story?
So I had an imaginary friend, I would say from like age 5 to age 7 or 8. It wasn't a long time, but I knew that there was something up with them for a little bit, and I'll tell you why. So my imaginary friend, I named him Jeremy. He did not tell me his name, but Jeremy is also the default name that I name anything that doesn't have a name, like D&D character, Jeremy. Somebody asks me what my keyboard is, I say it's Jeremy. I name things that do not need names. But Jeremy was this very like tall, shadowy figure who was just sometimes in my room. And we would play games. We would play with my different Barbies and stuff, and it was fun. It was fine. But I noticed that whenever I mentioned in a previous episode that we did have a ghost in our house that was named Sarah. She was like a presence that followed my dad around. I noticed that whenever Sarah was around and Jeremy was around, Sarah wasn't interacting with me as much. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know why that was true, but it was. I don't really know a whole lot. I don't even know if these are like real memories or not, or if Jeremy was real, or if it was just I saw shadows in the dark and just assumed that it was a person. But I don't know. It felt very like Friends on the Other Side for me. Like, I was really scared when Princess and the Frog came out because I was like, oh man, it's Jeremy. He's everywhere. And
Yep.
it kind of stressed me out a little bit because I hadn't really remembered him, but there he was. And it scared me. Like, he was just like a shadow. I don't really know much more than that. And now that I'm kind of thinking about it, if I think back to that story I told in the sleep paralysis episode, maybe that was Jeremy. I don't know. It was like a shadowy figure. I've creeped myself out.
Yeah, and
Okay,
this
well
would have
done.
been about that time of the squatter that
Oh
the squatter
man.
spirit we talked about in the Hellview episode. So I just
Oh,
put that together as I'm sitting here. That just clicked in my head. I'm like, wait a minute, that would have been, you were about 7 or 8 when we got rid of it. When we did the big purge to get rid of it. So
I'm full of fear now.
Great, great.
This is my fear song.
it's darkening here in the mountains.
Yeah, well done. Now tell your story, Mark.
Yeah, so my imaginary friend, when I was a child, well, I was, a lone nerd in West Virginia, and growing up, and it was I was picked on. I had, things. So I had an imaginary friend who was, my bodyguard. He was my protector. And and to be fair, it's so long ago I don't remember his name. I feel terrible that I don't remember his name. But he would protect me when others would bully me. And at one point, one of the kids in school was probably one of the worst, one of those Stephen King type bullies that just,
Yeah.
was a step away from actually murdering someone. He came up and kicked me in the side of the head while I was down at my lower locker. Everybody sees lockers in movies and stuff, they're always up high. In this school, there was a high one, a middle one, and a low one. And of course, I, being the nerdy kid, got, of course, stuck in one of the lower ones. And I was down picking up some books, and this kid just walked over to me, middle of the hall, kicks me in the head. And maybe that's why I have epilepsy, who knows. But suddenly my friend was there and shoved him against the other locker. And the kid starts crying and screaming. And then he grabs me with like an elongated arms, Fantastic Four style, and pulls me over. And then that's when the principal comes out and sees me holding the bully kid who's, had been held back 5 grades and was, probably a high school kid, and here he is with these elementary kids. And the principal pulls us both into the office and says, what's going on? And I've got the black eye, the broken glasses, but yet here's the kid, he's got a black eye. And they were like, oh, he, the kid's like, he beat me up. And then the principal calls me, what happened? I said, no, he kicked me in the head. And, and then, next thing I know was you were there. I didn't want to tell him. I knew it was wrong to tell him what happened. But yeah, so that was my imaginary friend.
So I have a theory. I had I used to babysit a lot when I was younger. I babysat a ton, and I found that if you talk to kids, like every now and then I would see kids talking to something, right? Like they're talking to somebody else. And I remember I was talking to one of the kids about who he was talking to. And he described a friend. And when he described him, he said his face was burned. Ooh. No, he didn't say it was burned. He said there was a problem on his face. And you asked, describe things. And what he described was somebody who had a really bad burned face. And he said the name of the kid, because it was a kid that was talking to him, said that he and his family had died in a car fire. And all the said all this
the
stuff.
Details, yeah.
And I found the newspaper article where this had happened. And it had happened like 20 years before this. Creepy as hell. And the kid was talking to his friend. And the thing is that anytime you talk to a kid that has a quote unquote imaginary friend, the majority of the time, they will tell you the story of that imaginary friend. Right?
Yeah.
There was a great Supernatural episode on this that I absolutely love, the Imaginary Friends Supernatural episode. Forget what the name of it is. But
let's get into some Hollywood supernatural friends and their take on this when we come back.
okay.
Let's go listen to those wonderful imaginary friends, our sponsors. Erie, Appalachia. Gear up for a frightful jaunt into the darkest reaches of the ancient Appalachians. Folks deep within the Appalachian hollers lean close to the campfire to share stories of the inexplicable with hushed awe. Monsters rumbling in the hills, strange lights darting through the pitch black night sky, horrible occurrences almost ineffable in their bizarre tragedy. Tall tales, you might say. Tell that to the Flatwoods monster in Braxton County, West Virginia, or the Goat Man of Louisville. Look into his humanoid eyes and let him know you don't believe. And what of those apparitions in Mammoth Cave's Corpse Rock, or the Satan spawn known as the Jersey Devil? How do you respond when confronted by these mysteries? From the metaphysical energy that swirls near Serpent Mound in Ohio to Point Pleasant's Mothman legacy, Mark Muncy and Carrie Schultz explore the dark history lurking in the shadows of Appalachia. Read by Mark Muncy, author and experts on strange folklore with appearances on shows such as Ancient Aliens, The Curse of Robert the Doll, and many, many more.
Greetings, mortals and others. I'm Dick Terhune, the voice from hell. I work with haunted attractions all over the US, Canada, and Europe to increase audiences and enhance their experience with highly effective commercials, narrations, animatronic character voices, whatever your dark heart desires. Let me help you do more, scare more, profit more. Find out more at Voice from Hell on Facebook and at voicefromhell.com.
So we're back. So
Oh my gosh.
Supernatural covers this imaginary friend. Drop Dead Fred is
Yes!
one of my favorite
Great,
imaginary
great
friends.
Rick Mile.
Yeah.
The late great Rick Mile.
But I think what is interesting is I think adults tend to, and we'll cover more of the ones, but they tend to tell a child that they're imagining something.
Yeah.
And I think it's true with, sometimes monsters under the bed can be shadows and things like that. But I think there's sometimes to what your children experience, there's a fear monger out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is, I remember there's a bear in the bathroom.
What's
My
that?
son said that when he was younger.
A bear in the bathroom.
He said there's a bear in the bathroom. Sure enough, there was something in the bathroom.
Some odd feeling when you went in.
Oh, no, I didn't even have to go in.
Oh, you knew it.
I could feel it.
Wow.
You know,
And it was a bear in the bathroom.
it could also be like a bear as in like a person, because it is Pride Month.
That's true.
That is true. That is true. But
Happy
this
Pride.
in this particular case to this 2-year-old was not a Pride Month bear in the bathroom.
Yep.
And so I think that, I'm not saying you have to, agree and let your kids whatever, but I think that we keep getting told that it's an imaginary friend, that we imagined it, versus it's something that the parents can't see.
Now, see, one of the big things, we're going to get into this at one point. I have to talk about, in America, we had The Night That Panicked America, which was the War of the Worlds broadcast, Orson Welles doing H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. When I was in England, which I only spent 2 nights in London, one on the way out to Romania, one on the way back from Romania. And on the way out, I stopped and was turned on the television late one night, and there was a special on called Ghost Watch. And this was an infamous program that aired in England. And I didn't know that at the time. Of course, I'm just watching it because I'm just bored in my hotel room and I'm watching BBC. And I was like, I was hoping for Doctor Who, and I got this. And this was basically, they were watching a family that was going through poltergeist-like experience, and they were going to have live television. And Craig Charles who is Lister from Red Dwarf, was amping it up. He was being antic there. They had a newscaster. They had the psychic who was in, the psychic, the parapsychologist who was investigating it was there. They had live cameras in the building. They had the reporter. They had a phone bank you could call and tell your ghost stories. And it was this really amazing thing. And the two little girls in the, that are experiencing the haunting are being filmed, and all this stuff starts going on. And they had an imaginary friend named Pipes. And it was because when they would hear weird knockings and weird noises, the mom would tell them, oh, nothing, it's the pipes. It's the pipes. So suddenly they had this imaginary friend named Pipes. Now, I don't want to go too much more into this because we're going to do an episode on this when it gets closer to Halloween, which is the night I'm watching this. And I was so excited and I was enthralled with this. But then I'm also in the back of my head, I'm going, this is a lot like the Enfield poltergeist, which I was, as a kid, had researched. I had written Hans Holzer. I had written the Ed and Lorraine Warren about this case because they were the paranormal teams involved in this. And this is what the Conjuring 2 movie had basically followed this case. And then here's this thing. It's almost the exact same story. I'm like, is nobody putting this together? That this is the Enfield poltergeist? I mean, this is all over again. But Pipes, this is a weird story and all this. And of course, it's a television movie, but it was like the first Blair Witch Project type thing. And again, it caused a panic. People panicked thinking this was a real show. And to be fair, I thought it was real for a little bit until towards the end, it gets a little over the top. But wow, what a show. And if you can find it, definitely watch Ghost Watch. You'll love it. But that goes back to the Enfield haunting, where they had an imaginary friend. It was an old man who could talk to them and tell them things. And then one of the girls would, they actually had to tape her mouth shut because she kept talking like him. And it was her imaginary friend. And then sure enough, in that house, an old man had died. And yeah, again, Hollywood Conjuring made it a little more, but even Ed and Lorraine Warren, as much as we love the Warrens, there are things that they blew up as well.
Made a little bit bigger than they were.
They exaggerated a little bit. And also to them, everything was demonic.
And I'm not saying there aren't bad things, and there are
no
things that scare children and stuff that we can't explain, fear mongers and stuff like that. But I've seen a lot of children that have helpful. Charlie was helpful. I mean, I know I just said that, but I have several other stories where he's very helpful to me being there. He made it so I wasn't as afraid of the dark, for instance. Now you can go, okay, you made him up, right? But I have some real life proof that something was there. Right. And your situation.
Yeah. How did I beat that kid up? He's 3 times my size. And maybe it was adrenaline. Maybe it was, because it's a blurred memory. I don't remember it well.
Yeah,
I'd also had my head kicked in. So,
No, it's true. But that's the thing. You can justify these things. But I think there's probably a lot of listeners who have invisible friend. And I'm going to call them invisible friend stories. I like
that too, instead of because they're not imaginary.
Just you can play and stuff like that, but when you talk to children who encounter these things, they are as real as me or you talking to them at that moment. That's how they do it. And the other thing that I know is, and there are other stories I could tell, but I was watching my niece, my sister's oldest child, she had something that watched her it just did. And I remember waking up one night because she used to stay with my mom all the time. I was at my mom's house. I was laying on the couch. I woke up and there's this thing standing over me. And all I got from this thing was, where is the baby? Right. And I'm like, she is with her mother. It was very weird. And then she was gone. Right. And I asked my mom the next morning, I'm like, does anything weird happen when the baby's here? I said it very name, but I was like, and she's like, oh, did you see her?
Oh,
no.
Yes, I saw her.
Nope. Throw the whole house out. I can't.
Yeah, exactly. But there was nothing malicious or whatever.
You didn't nope out of that?
No, I didn't nope out of that because at the time I was like, I know about when I feel like negativity is when I nope out. Like
That was no negative.
there was nothing. No, she was literally just looking for the baby. And then she's
I know I normally reserve this feeling for Mark, aka my dad. But I don't know about that one, Chief. That's scary. That I don't care if a present feels good or bad. If I'm seeing a presence and it's near, like, say, a baby, nope, not looking at that baby again. That baby's
never looking at the baby again. Well,
Goodbye,
the thing
baby.
about that is that I think there are certain sort of guardian spirits that happen because that's what I think. I think it was not like possessive, whatever. I think it was a guardian. I think it was watching.
And that's, yes, a lot of natives believe that that's just ancestral, your ancestral spirits that are helping you and guiding you. And that's what these are. And, this leads to other, where kids talk about their friends who, are kids who died, like that one situation and stuff. That is not an uncommon thing.
My daughter had one too.
Oh,
see, I know it sounds weird and people are going, okay, she's crazy. But I say this because my son one time, because weird things would just happen. Like you'd be in my daughter's room and it would feel like somebody was grabbing your foot, not in a mean way, but like tickling, whatever. And so we joked a lot about it, but the cat used to do this game where you'd chase it and it would, not meanly, but it would run and it would stop and it would look at you and then run back around, because we had like a center wall that ran through the living room kitchen. So the kids would play sort of tag with the cat. The cat was playing tag with somebody and nobody was chasing it, but it did the full stop as if it was looking at somebody and then followed after it, like exactly the way this happened several times and in front of more than just me. So it wasn't like I had friends at the house that were like, what is the cat doing? And I'm like, it's playing tag. With what? With who? I don't know. But one day we were in the kitchen and my son went, well, what's its name? And I'm like, I don't know its name. He woke up that next morning with a female sitting on his bed, dressed like Little House on the Prairie. And she goes, my name is Karen. No, my name is Kathy. My name is Kathy. And then he woke up.
Yeah.
Fuck that. No.
Eh.
And he was like, the next morning, I got goosebumps. He's like, its name is Kathy. And I'm like, well, that's just fascinating.
Well, that was the whole Sarah thing with us was, again, I looked up and knew it was an S name and then looked up in the house, and sure enough, a young lady had harmed herself and her name was Sarah. So I was like, oh, that must be who we're talking to.
And never forget that Dad was the one who offered the ghost therapy, and now there's a ghost that's attached to him. And what did we learn? Don't offer ghosts anything.
It's an invisible friend now.
It's an invisible friend.
It's an invisible friend, and she's never hurt anybody and never done anything. You used to adjust the temperature in your room so that you would be comfortable. So
I don't know why you complain about that, Callie.
Well, I pay electric bills now. And I gotta tell you, I don't want to pay for environmental temperature shifts anymore. I'm tired of paying for the higher AC bill because of the summer in Florida.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't want to pay for it because of ghosts either. I get that maybe they're uncomfortable, but if they pay me some ghost dollars, then they can change the thermostat.
Callie,
Erika,
I like your rules.
Thank you.
I appreciate them. And as somebody who nopes out all the time, I've had situations where it's not been a positive situation, and you can feel the negativeness.
Oh yeah, no, for every positive, there's
negative or 10 negatives,
Which is fully why I'm like, even in the positive situations now I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I do this for money now. Like, I don't want anything happening. I just want to have a chill time, a cool hang. Me and my dog are good over here.
Yeah.
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 But it's interesting because it is portrayed in films both ways. I mean, even Poltergeist was a little bit
Starting
she's-
with that, she's got
she's
an
talking
imaginary
to-
friend.
she's
Yeah.
got the negative, but she's also talking to somebody. I mean, they suck
Yeah.
her into a TV, so that's not good.
Well,
end
but they're
result.
protecting her from something scarier, supposedly.
You know.
So, and that's the premise of the later movies when we get the creepy priest.
Yeah.
That was, oh man, that poor guy. I guess he was like very terminal with cancer filming that.
Yeah, but those movies were plagued with
Yeah.
problems
And
themselves.
then, of course, we have The Exorcist, where they had Reagan's friend was Captain Howdy. That was the spirit they had contacted through the Ouija board and was her imaginary friend
Mhm.
after that. So it plays a lot in a lot of Hollywood and stuff like that because it's so primal. It is part of us.
I think it is, and I think there again is what do you believe? Like, when are you told to not believe in these things? And is it a ghost? Is it a spirit? Is it a nature spirit? Is it a guardian spirit? Is it some other kind of entity? Like, what is it that? And it's interesting because I think that you can have things that attach themselves to you as you are older and things like that. And it'd be interesting to hear from listeners their stories
Yes.
and what they have, and did they have it as children? And then how many times are you told that's not real?
Yeah.
Right.
How many times did your parents or teacher or
Whoever
some
tell you it's
authority
not
figure
real?
tell you, stop that? Yeah.
And I wonder how much that plays into, because you look at things that are happening. Like, I'm gonna go very meta right now. You
Go
ready?
for it.
Are we prepared to go meta?
Go for it.
You look at how we're fed news and how we're fed information, right? And how we're told what to believe is true. And I'm not just talking about ghosts or aliens or whatever, right? I'm talking about just normal things, right? Like, there are people that believe the earth is flat.
Still,
now,
yeah.
even though we have pictures from space of a very not flat earth, right? We have, and much science associated with that. And I'm sorry if I offend you if you believe the earth is flat, but that's something that if you listen to them talk about it, you may walk away going, oh, maybe the earth is flat. Like, you get told something or told things in a way that puts you in a situation where you do believe in your belief system changes
And
from what it was.
And what with all this, we're discussing all this, and of course, we're Erie Travels.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you travel to visit your imaginary friend?
Invisible friend.
Invisible friend. Your invisible friend. And one of my favorite places that this has been discussed in and was a McDonald's playground. And this was in the UK. And this 3-year-old girl named Ruby talked about her imaginary mom that meets her at the McDonald's playground. And her imaginary mom she's very grateful for her. Her yellow eyelashes mean she can see in the dark. She only comes to see me at nighttime. She scares me sometimes, but I always want her to come back. She has 2 babies in her belly. She's 14, but can never have a birthday. That was her letter about her imaginary friend. And so, of course, Twitter exploded with this, saying that girl is possessed, and she needs a young priest and an old priest, the usual things like that. But I'm like, hey, if you've got an invisible friend, those few McDonald's that still have play places would be a good place to take them.
No, it's true. It's true. But let me just say, look at the details that she had
Yeah, exactly.
about the invisible friend. And I go, good. Anybody in Twitter go look up to see if there was a death or something of a 14-year-old girl that was carrying twins.
Yeah, it's
and
that's what they're all kind of hoping. And of course, this turned into a creepypasta and all that. So they're like, oh, that wasn't real and all that. But no, that really was this girl's description
And
of that. So
I'm telling you, our listeners have stories that they had themselves or their children or children they babysat or something like that could tell you. And I think a lot of times parents, whoever encounters children that talk about this, and it's not all children.
no,
No, not at all. But they will tell you in great detail, and you can even ask them to ask the friends about their lives. And they'll come back and tell you things there is no way a 4-year-old knows.
it's a phenomena that, again, we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
It's I throw this in our preternatural coverall, that this is something of the world that we don't understand. And like I said, a lot of natives, this is nothing. They talk to the invisible friends all the time, because
All
they're
the
the
time.
spirit guides. They're
You know,
the ancestral guides.
we need to get Al going back on
Oh,
here and talk to
gosh,
him about
yes.
this.
Al, when you're not busy writing another Marvel or DC project or your own
Epic
Bram
books.
Stoker winning books, we'll get you on here.
And
Yeah.
come and talk to us about the Native
Yes.
American belief of
Yeah.
these
Yeah,
things. And I
family
think
spirits. Yeah.
and I think that it's just an interesting. So yes, I'm throwing it out there. Gonna
Yeah.
add this to
Let's
my
manifest it.
weird let's
manifest
be
it.
careful manifesting these things.
Well, let's manifest
buddy.
Owl talking on the show.
Yes,
So,
let's
that's-
manifest that. That I can manifest. Are you on board with that, Callie?
Yeah, we can manifest that. Please don't manifest anything else. And also, I'm never going to McDonald's again.
Oh, great. So we've ruined McDonald's. That's great.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, we
There
go.
goes there's that advertisement deal out there.
I-
That's it.
I will say, if anyone
McDonald's
is
is
in,
like, never talk about us on your
Oh
podcast again.
man, now we're gonna have to go look for Burger King.
Yeah.
All right.
sort of unrelated, but if anyone's in Northern Europe and they have one of the frog squishmallows from the McDonald's toy sets, you ship that shit to me in Florida. That's the only frog I don't have. That's the
That's
only one, because it's
only
in
one?
fucking Europe.
Oh man. Oh
Well,
man.
see, I'm going over there, Callie. I guess you better be nice to me and keep me on this show.
Erika can keep her job. Dad,
All
you're
right, fine. I will give my job to my invisible friend.
Your invisible friend sounds like a badass.
Yeah,
I'm
he
okay with
is.
that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as people give their money to our visible friends over at Paranormality Magazine.
Or any of our sponsors, the wonderful Destiny Beard Music, and
Oh, yes.
and of course Dick Terhune, who can make your invisible friend sound the way
Amazing.
make him sound the way my invisible friend acts. So yes, and as we are getting near spooky season, it is the time to get on Dick's radar there to get your recordings in if you want something special done
You should
for your
you
haunt.
should have him not only for your haunt, you guys should have him do your voicemails.
Oh man, yes. That
Yes,
would be-
because imagine you
fantastic.
call somebody and that's what you get on the
Oh,
other
man,
side.
yes.
That would be amazing. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I think me and my invisible friends are gonna wrap this up now.
Yep, I think I'm gonna go get a Big Mac.
That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan.
Cool.
And thank you all so much for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe. Do send us your emails. Do send us your letters. Send us the things. Twitter us. Do whatever you need to do. But follow us on all the things. Vote at paranormalitymag.com for your favorite paranormal podcast. We'd love to be on that top list. And as always, Erika, you have anything?
I know. I think I just want to hear everyone else's stories. That would be really, really awesome.
I think so. As you imagine, your invisible friend have anything to say?
No, he is no longer with me, unfortunately. I
Well,
wish he was sometimes. He
yeah.
would make life a little easier.
Maybe he is. Who knows? But
Yes.
In the meantime, thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.